The glass sentence. This is a really interesting, trippy bit of science fiction. In this world, it's all about time. Time breaks. Land masses become unhinged in time. It might be 3020 in Peru, but it might be the prehistoric era in Wisconsin. Nobody knows what is past, present, or future. And nobody knows what era caused this. But communication between eras and places breaks down. And the most important sciences worldwide become cartology and exploration. It happened long ago, when I was only a child. Back then, the outskirts of Boston were still farmland. On one especially warm day in the summer of 1799, July 16th, all my friends had arrived at the stream before me, and I took a running start and jumped. I had no way of knowing that when I landed it would be in a different world. I found myself suspended over the pool. With my knees curled up and my arms wrapped around them, I hung there. I knew that time was passing, and it was passing too quickly. The grass began growing before my eyes. It grew steadily. The leaves on the trees by the banks of the stream turned yellow and orange and red. The stream below me slowed and then froze. The ice on the stream broke into pieces and the water once again rushed through it. Before too long, the leaves took on their dark summer hue and the grass grew higher. It passed in an instant, but I felt as though I had lived an entire year apart from the world, while the world moved on. When the first sailors who set out from Boston after the change returned, dazed and terrified, they brought back confounding stories of ancient ports and plagues, barren land covered with snow where all signs of human existence had vanished, and incredible beasts known only in myth had suddenly appeared. Cities of towering glass. Each piece of the world had been flung into a different age. We called it the Great Disruption. So, our area that we live in right now, the original 13 colonies in this world, is called the New Occident. A wealthy representative from Boston suggested a radical plan. He proposed that a single parliament govern New Occident, and that any person who wished to voice an opinion before it should pay admittance. The plan was hailed by those who could afford it. It laid the groundwork for the contemporary practice of selling Parliament time by the second.
Basically, anybody who wants to have a say in anything has to pay the government to be able to voice their thoughts.
That means that like the poor people who actually want the country to be good or have an idea about how the country is run can't do anything.
The hottest day of the year was also the day Sophia Tims changed her life forever by losing track of time. The State House was full to capacity. Arranged in a horseshoe around the dais sat the members of Parliament, the 88 men and 2 women, rich enough to procure their position. In the cheap seats on the upper balcony, Sophia was surrounded by men and women who had crammed themselves onto the benches. "Ah, look! The famous Shadrach Eli is here, I see." Sophia smiled proudly. "Shadrach is my uncle." "Imagine that! The niece of the great cartologer." The proceedings began. First speaker, a Rupert Middles. Sophia's eyes widened as the timekeeper on the left set the clock to 27 minutes. "How long will New Occident go on ignoring the realities of our altered world, while the edges of our territory are eaten away by the greedy mouths of foreigners, paying for none of the privileges that come with living in New Occident, but enjoying them all to the full? And I am loath to see my tolerance and my industry made a mockery by the greed and cunning of outsiders." Clapping and cheering erupted from the crowd. I am here to propose a detailed plan, which I call the Patriot Plan, and which I am certain will be approved, effective immediately. The borders must be closed. Citizens of New Occident may travel freely, if they have the proper documentation, to other ages. Foreigners living in New Occident who do not have citizenship will have several weeks to return to their ages of origin, but if not, will be forcibly deported on July 4th of this year. Is everyone clear on what his scheme is?
Yeah.
Yeah, to close the borders and not let anyone.
Kick everyone out.
Yeah, kick everyone who wasn't born there or doesn't have the proper documentation out. Does this sound familiar to anything we have heard of in this country?
Donald Trump and the wall.
Yeah,
Yes.
Donald Trump and the wall, and how, illegal immigration's this big deal. Now, a lot of times, people bring up the fear of the foreigners when other worse problems are happening. Right now, it would be our economy. Foreigners are not our problem. Our economy's our problem. Getting the proper documentation today is actually very, very
Oh
hard.
my God,
They
yeah.
made it harder to get citizenship or a green card, and this would claim a green card would not be enough. As Sophia listened to the remaining minutes of the speech, she thought with growing anxiety of what the closing of the borders would mean. They won't have the right documents. They won't get in, and I will lose them forever. The they Sophia was talking about?
Parents who went out 8 years ago on this urgent mission who didn't come back.
Yeah. In this world, explorers go, they're gone for 20 years, and sometimes they pop back up like, hi, no, not dead. But what will happen now, if the borders close and she is barred from leaving, is that they will be lost to her forever. They won't have the right documents. Mr. Augustus Wharton, the first timekeeper called loudly. Yes, we must close our borders, and yes, we must enact a swift deportation of foreigners who leech this great nation of its strength without giving it anything in return.
People.
Pause
No.
and take a moment to
No.
think.
No.
Foreigners
Like you,
who
maybe.
leech this country and give it nothing in return. Do we remember the origins of this country?
None of us are American.
Yeah.
We're all British.
Everyone's an immigrant. Does not the true patriot stay home where he belongs? I have no doubt that our great explorers, of whom we are so proud, have only the best intentions in traveling to distant lands. But surely these explorers are on occasion naive. The very knowledge they so prize becomes the twisted tool of foreign powers bent on this great nation's destruction. The masterful creations of a certain cartologer gracing us with his presence today make perfect research materials for any pirate, raider, or tyrannical ruler with an eye towards invasion.
Saying that Sophia's uncle makes maps for terrorists to come
Basically,
in. Okay.
he's saying Sophia's uncle, whether he intends it or not, his knowledge is being used to hurt this country. So don't learn things, it will hurt us. Greg.
I think we're kind of going into Maoism where he's like, intellectuals suck, we have to get rid of them.
But we must also close our borders to prevent the citizens of New Occident from leaving it and undermining our very foundations. Middles has the Patriot Plan, which will protect us from foreigners. I say good, but not good enough. I therefore propose here, in addition, a measure to protect us from ourselves. The Protection Amendment. Stay home! Stay safe. Does no one want the borders to remain open? Sophia whispered at one point. Oh, of course they do, my dear. Her benchmate said placidly. Most of us do. Don't you notice that all the people who clap for the likes of them are on the ground floor, in the pricey seats?
If they have enough money. Other people are like, we can't close the borders, these people help us.
The timekeeper called. Mr. Shadrach Eli. We have seen after the Great Disruption the great impoverishment of our world as pieces fell away, washed into the seas of time. It was not so long ago, fewer than 100 years. We remember that loss still. It took us years, decades, to realize that this broken world could be mended, that we could reach remote ages and overcome the tremendous barriers of time and be the richer for it. We have profited greatly by our trade and communication with nearby ages. And we have given. And this learning across the ages is not at an end. Much of the New World is still unknown to us. Imagine what treasure, be it financial, he looked keenly at the members of Parliament, scientific, or literary, lies beyond the borders of our age. My fellow Bostonians, we are indeed tolerant, and we are industrious as Mr. Middles claims, and we are a part of the main. We are not an island. We must not behave like one. The glass sentence, it's amazing, it's great, I strongly recommend everybody read it.